going very fast yet. I'm getting it settled down first. And as I'm lowering it down, my left hand is pushing across in this diagonal, so it's going this way. And my right hand is pressing down and pushing also toward the center, but toward like 10, 11 o'clock. And the same thing here. So I'm pushing the clay into my left hand, and then I wait here for a few seconds. And then up. And as I get more steady, I can increase the speed a little. And then across. So left hand is pressing toward like maybe 2 o'clock, and right hand is pressing toward 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock. And then again settle down at the bottom for a moment. I don't know why it's not really responding right now. There we go. So it's kind of like, it feels like it's centering from the inside out. So you're really pushing that core to the center. And that feels pretty right. Nice and quiet now. So I'll set the footprint. And then put my hole in. Hey, how are you?
Good.
Just in time for a demo. I'll wait. So I'm going to drop the hole all the way down. You can put your stuff down and I'll just wait till you catch up. So I'm leaving about 1/4 inch. And you can clean this off. So it doesn't bounce your hand. And then I widen the opening into my left hand. So I'm pulling it this way. Left hand is holding this steady, and my right hand fingertips are pressing out. So I'm keeping the floor flat. So the motion is like scooping. And it's a little bit wider at the base than it is on the top of it, so it's more open at the bottom than it is on the top. And then I'll compress the floor. And now, because the spout will make the rim slightly uneven the way I do it, you can choose to leave just a thin bottom so you don't have to trim it. You can just kind of paddle it later if you want to, or trim it upside down and then push the bottom in a little bit. So then the first lift is not so much about getting a whole lot of height up, it's more about evening things out. And I'm really pressing inwards from the outside. And then it's coned in and ready for the next one. Compress this rim, and I'm leaving this quite thick on the top so that there's enough clay there to form the spout later. A little bit of water. And now, because my hand no longer can reach all the way, I'm going to lift my elbow up. My shoulder rolls forward, so this is free. And then I lean into my right leg for support. Press out for a moment. Take your inside up hand up first and keep pushing it in from the outside. Also, I'm moving my hands toward So I start from here and I move in diagonal toward 5 o'clock or so that at the top it doesn't flare out. Again, I've stopped the lift about 1/4 of an inch above, or below rather, so that it doesn't get too thin and I can get the spout out of it. And one more. A little bit of water. Square off the base first. Press out. Wait a few revolutions. Inside hand goes up first. Allow the wheel complete each revolution before your hands get pulled upwards. And quietly up. All the way up. The same tempo, the same pace all the way through. And as you can reach, connect your hands on the outside. That gives you a little more support. And again, pulling it toward the bottom of the wheel to tighten this cylinder. One more. A little water. So I squeeze the water against the back of my hand, which then drips it down. And one last lift. Again, now that I'm taller, I'm going to lean even deeper into my leg. Inside hand up first. Quietly lifting, quietly lifting, quietly lifting. And then I'll connect my hands on the top. A little wobbly at the top, but that's okay. A little soft. I'll mop the bottom a little bit. And then I'll dry it. I like to use the metal rib, but you can use any one you like. Wooden, or the rubber, or the metal works all the same. So I'll press it out into the rib just a little bit, so there's a little bit of tension that will lift up rather than slump the clay or allow it to slump. As it gets softer, it tends to slump, so the tension will keep it moving up, or at least retaining the height. So now that's the basic cylinder that will become, that I will be able to shape. I'll clean off a little bit at the bottom, get rid of this clay that never went anywhere, and I'll make my little map. So that's going to be the neck portion, maybe a little taller, like that. And then the widest part of the belly will be here.
Is that kind of 2/3 up to where the neck starts?
Yeah, about, I would say. So this is more or less halfway point, and then this is halving that. But this will stretch more, so it'll lift it up a little more. So that's why this is shorter. So again, a little bit of a lift still, but instead of pushing it in from the outside, I will actively expand it. And the first time is not that, you don't have to go huge. so it doesn't run away from you. So it's gradual, and remember both sides are expanding, so little bit, little bit. And then come back in from this line. And then making this straight for now. And again, so I'm going to go back, do it one more time. Pick this up. Quietly lifting, quietly expanding. Until I reach the line. And then bringing it back in from here. But still lifting. So it doesn't start to settle and flow backwards. And then this stays straight for now. And now I can take the rib and change that curvature a little bit. Take the water out first. And then I'll use the rib, and I'll just expand it into the rib a little bit. So the rib is supporting, and I'm changing this curve so the widest part doesn't really change. That stays the same. This changed. And then up from here. And I don't want this to be too like rounded so that there's a huge arc here. It'll make it hard to pour out of. And then I'll go and I'll change this a little bit. Turn it into an S curve. I like to make a little line here to separate that portion of the pot from the belly. Dry this off. One more time. And I like to make this line here. So I'm just using the rib. So I'm pushing in with the rib a little bit and pushing out right at this point. So I'm using that curvature and creating that line. And I like this for two reasons. It gives you a nice place to put the spout on, also to attach the handle. Center that a little better. And now if you have any goo here, get rid of this. Maybe we'll run this one last time. Make it really dry. And then I'll make the spout. Like before, always make sure there's no water sitting at the bottom. Always compressed. And then I'll stop this wheel. And I'll pick a spot, like anywhere really. If you have one side that's a little bit thicker, do that of course. And I'll, like closing and opening a Ziploc bag, back and forth. So you're sharpening that edge a little bit. Then take the fingers like this, not like that. So the pads together, and pick this up a little. So I'm directing it towards the center of that area to thin it toward the top a little more. And this is so that not only it makes a nicer looking spout, but you won't have, it'll pour very nicely when it's a little bit sharpened. So now you can see how it's a little bit higher. Say cheese. And then I'll compress that just a little. Index finger and thumb on either side, and stretch this lip out. And then you can adjust this as it sets up a little bit. You can make this narrower, so these will direct the contents out nicely, and the sharp edge will cut it so it doesn't dribble. And this is a nice negative space for your handle, so you get it into the right spot.
How many pounds?
3 pounds.